ISIS relies heavily on social media to spread its message and to recruit people, but we did not know until now that ISIS has its own smartphone app. Joining us now is Cal Perry, MSNBC's senior editor for digital and video content. Scott Atran and Nafees Hamid are also still with us. Cal, tell us about this app.
Well, Lawrence, it's really, all the trappings of a state without actually being a state. So it's not the most interactive app, and you have to already be on an encrypted communication server that's run out of Russia to even get an invitation to get on it. It's really just a better delivery system, a quicker delivery system for some of these gruesome videos, and it's meant for just followers of the quote-unquote caliphate. When you speak to U.S. military officials about this app and some of the Twitter handles for that matter, they'll tell you that it's oftentimes better to leave these things in place. While it's good to send a message to knock them down, this is a way to track people. The ultimate goal is to give a drone a target. And if you can find the people who are on this app, and we're showing our viewers now a screenshot of that app, you can use it as actionable intelligence. So sometimes it's better that these things are out there, believe it or not. And this is something that groups like Anonymous are interested in knocking off the air. In fact, Anonymous tomorrow is going to spend the day waging a global war on the internet. You can already find on Twitter, for example, pictures of ISIS fighters, and their faces have been replaced with cartoon ducks. There you have it. So it should be an entertaining day. But it just, Lawrence, it's more of this, ISIS trying to be a state, presenting itself to the world and certainly its followers as something legitimate. And this is becoming quickly a tech war.
Nafees Hamid, what would be ISIS's reaction to that hacking and, turning their warriors into ducks?
Well, they're very clever. They'll probably find a way around it. They're still very active on Twitter, but they're much less responsive. At one point, they had 50,000 Twitter handles with about 1,000 followers each. I was communicating with them over Twitter for a while, and then they switched to Telegram, which is an app that they use that they've been using for a while now, which is almost impossible to even Telegram itself cannot unencrypt its own messages. This is what a lot of the Paris attackers were using to communicate. But the important thing to understand about the role of the internet in radicalization in general is the Canadian Department of Public Health just last month finished a year-long study on how the internet works in radicalization. And they found two main things. One is that it's not just the messages alone, the videos, the magazines, the radicalized people, it's the back and forth social interaction. So the internet or messaging apps just provide a way to expand people's social networks, and you cannot understand the role of the internet on radicalization without taking into account their offline social networks. As researchers and artists have found, 3 out of 4 people are radicalized by a friend, 1 out of 5 by a family member, very few by strangers. You have to look at that offline social network to really get an insight into who's radicalizing, how they're radicalizing.
Let's listen to what Hillary Clinton said about this.
The threat from radical jihadism has metastasized and become more complex and challenging. We're seeing the results of radicalization not just in far-off lands, but right here at home, fueled by the internet. It's the nexus of terrorism and technology, and we have a lot of work to do to end it. It's time for an urgent dialogue between the government, and not just our government and the high-tech community to confront this problem together.
Scott, that sounds like a real departure from the Edward Snowden view of the world. This is a very post-Snowden comment to say the government and the high-tech community should get together and work on this.
Well, I think they should, but I don't think that's gonna be the main way we get to ISIS. I think Nafees was exactly right. I mean, it's a very intimate, personalized social communication where a young woman from Syria will text another young woman from Chicago or Seattle and say, look, I know how hard it is to leave your mother and your brother and sister, and let me try to help you explain why there's something more important in life, and so you can explain it to them. It's that intimate, personal contact. And that's where we have to target. I mean, right now we're trying to hit the technology and we're doing mass, repetitive, negative messaging with almost no effect whatsoever. So I think if we're going to do something, it's got to be at that very personal and intimate level, and it's got to be a message that appeals to the glory, the joy of ISIS. I mean, people don't realize it. It is a joyful movement. Our propaganda it's vicious, it's brutal, it's cruel. Yes, all of that is right. But for the people who join it, it's a glorious adventure, it's joyful, and it's bonded in blood.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there for tonight. Cal Perry, Scott Atran, Nafees Hamid, thank you all very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Up next.